another scrub rose up for you next. Bred and introduced by David Austin Roses in 2016. I've had this particular rose since its launch. This lovely thing is Imogen. Now I'd like to make some points about this particular rose. It, on the David Austin website, says it reaches 3 feet by 3 feet. As I said, I've had this plant now since its launch, and substantially I think this rose is an awful lot taller than that. They say it forms a round bush, and in my growing experience here at North Lodge, it is very, very tall. It is very, very upright in its habit, sending up very long, strong and thick canes up to 4.5 to 5 feet. Now that might be down to my pruning regime here. I may not be being quite hard enough with it during the winter, but it's certainly those flowering canes coming up a good 4 to 4.5 feet from the point where it's been pruned. Another point to make is it also here does very, very well in partial shade. Where I have it planted, it does actually get a little bit of evening sun, maybe 4 to 5 hours, but it's actually in fairly deep shade for most of the morning, which I find helps as a lovely way of enjoying its beautiful coloured flowers. Now this rose also is the first time this year that it's actually put on a complete flush of blooms. It's been a little bit slow off the mark to get going. This year it has sent up around a dozen canes all at once, all flowering together, putting on a really nice show. But as I say, it has taken just a little bit longer than most other Austins that I've ever grown to actually fully find its, its feet. The colour on this particular one, when I bought this 7 years ago, I did actually buy this as a white rose, but you can see if I show you the flower there, it is very, very distinctly not white. It is the most pale and dainty of yellows, very, very pale, almost a heavy cream, but there is definitely a strong, very pretty yellow tinge to the bloom. And if you turn it backwards, you can see at the back of the flower, there's those lovely little golden yellow cups glowing there. So each individual petal you can see has this spot of gold glowing at the bottom of it. It really is very, very pretty. Dark green emerald foliage. And in all the time I've been growing this rose, I've never ever had any problems with it at all. So very, very disease resistant, even in the hottest, driest and most stressful of summers. It has still stood the test of time and stood upright. It hasn't flowered particularly heavily until now, I must admit, but it has stood up well to the heat. This particular rose, because the canes are really very tall and really very long and also incredibly upright, they are particularly good for cutting. It's another nice one that I enjoy bringing into the house because it's got nice, long, straight, very sturdy stems. And they say they're thrown up by at least 3.5 to coming on to 4.5 feet. The only drawback with cutting it for the house is it is particularly vicious. The barbs, I've taken most of these off to be able to handle it. They are really, can you see that one there? I'm not sure you're going to be able to see that. They are really, really very small and incredibly pointy. Now that sounds really silly, but they are very, very sharp. So they'll give you quite a nasty little tear in the skin. So you do need to be a bit careful with it and make sure you de-thorn it before you bring it into the house and handle it. But this is Imogen from David Austin Roses, the most delicate, soft and beautiful yellow you have ever seen that glows. As I say, plant it in a partially shady spot in the garden and this colour simply radiates out from it. The scent, I don't pick up very much at all from this rose and never have done. So again, the Austin website says it has a medium or fruity fragrance, and to my nose, which we're all different, so this is my own personal opinion, but I don't get any smell at all off of this rose. But it's not going to stop me enjoying it. It really is very, very pretty, very, very upright. And I say those long, straight, very strong canes, as you can see from that there, make it particularly good for cutting it out. And again, just on that camera angle, you can see those lovely little buttery coloured golden glowing to the backs of the tips, which I absolutely love. It's very, very pretty. So this is Imogen from David Austin Roses.